Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. In today's video, we are going to continue with the series where we're going to be talking about the second house lord in different houses of your birth chart. Now, please remember when we are doing these analysis, we are doing on the basis of Vedic astrology. What is going to be interesting to note in the remaining 11 videos of this series, which is going to be different from the first video, was where we talked about the Lagna Lord traversing into different houses. But here, additional element that will come into place is that you have to see that how many houses away from itself is your second lord going. Okay, so this will be an additional facet that we have to understand while we go through all these 11 remaining videos, so to speak. The other critical point to note is specifically in this video, and we'll talk in the 7th Lord video as well, that 2nd Lord and 7th Lord are also considered as Maraka houses, which means that the Lord of this will bring those attributes as well when we are considering their placement in different houses. Okay, so what I've done is that on the screen I've also pasted a representation based on your zodiac sign, that what would be the ruler of your second house. So for example, for an Aries ascendant, your first house is 1, second house is number 2, which is ruled by Taurus, or rather ruled by Venus. If I were to say, let's say Sagittarius ascendant, the second lord would be Saturn. Or in case of a Leo ascendant, the second lord will be Mercury. So you can quickly look into this bit and understand that what or which planet is the lord of your second house. And we'll quickly now dive in to see what would be the impact of each of these planets, house lords in different houses. So to begin with, what does the second house denote? It denotes your family. It denotes your savings. It denotes your wealth, your family wealth as well. It denotes the food you consume, the kind of communication you have, or the speech that you have. Remember, the first house is the representation of yourself, your lagna, your personality. And second house is an extension of that personality. So when we say food, what kind of food, what kind of cuisines, and fresh food or frozen food, those kind of habits that you depict in your lifestyle, the quality of or the status of your family itself is seen from the second house. Second house is also absolutely critical in terms of finding various dhan yogas and raj yogas coming into play in your chart. So it's a very critical and important house. Now when the second house lord comes and sits in the first house, it is usually considered to be a good placement. What happens is that this brings a lot of obsession, might not be the right word, but a lot of responsibility in the person who has this behavior. So if you have your second lord in the first house, you would find that you are very caring, devoted, sort of even worried towards your family members. You are always concerned for their well-being. They are the ones who look up to you to maintain a certain social status in the family. You are those people who have actually magnified the quality of life your family is going to live. You are the person who brings that drive into you. In my mind, it can also be seen, almost parallel to a dhan yoga. Because on a positive scheme of things, it is going to bring that drive in you, that push where you want to go to the zilt to do anything and everything for the well-being of your family. You will be motivated to enhance your savings, the kind of money that you are accumulating in life, and that is something you will be very driven about as well. The kind of speech that you use. Now, it depends. If you have a soft planet like a Mercury or a Venus or a Jupiter, where there will be a lot of warmth and softness in your speech. But even if it's having the impact of, let's say, a Saturn, you will be very direct in how you communicate your thoughts. You will be honest. You will be speaking true to your heart. But you could be abrupt. So a lot of a lot of you had dropped in comments in the previous video giving feedback that, Dev, this is not working in my case. Of course, I cannot cover all scenarios in a video, but when we are talking about this, it gives you a sense as to how you must interpret a particular planetary position in your own chart. So on a good day, what you will find is that you bring this hard working attribute in yourself to devote for the growth of your family. You bring that good quality speech, or you bring a very direct way of communication. You will be people who are love to enjoy different types of cuisines. You want to explore what different cultures have to offer, and you want to bring that not just to yourself but expose your family as well to it. Right? There are so many people who go out, travel, learn new things, and then they take their spouses out to a restaurant and say, hey babe, try this. You are those kind of people. Right? Now, as I said, it is a marka as well. And the second critical aspect, which is on the negative side, see, there will be both positives and negatives, as I was talking in my previous video as well. That will happen with each placement. So the riskier situation could be that the second house lord is going 12th to itself, which meaning loss of itself. Now here, if we have a malefic situation, or if you have a good planet, but if it has some kind of malefic aspects, then the dangerous scenarios could be where you are ending up, burning the wealth of your family. You inherited a lot of stuff from the 8th house, aspecting to your second, but your second lord goes to the first house and you end up burning. You take up certain loans, or you take up certain projects which do not pan out the way you would have anticipated. That's a tricky situation. If in a bad situation, it could lead to a major loss of health as well. I said it's a marka placement that is coming into play, which means that you might be born with or might actually get certain diseases in the long term which are not curable. And don't choke my neck on the point that, Dev, you are frightening me. No, I'm not saying that. To give you an example, I personally am a diabetic person. Now, that is something which is chronic. It's going to stay all your life. You have to manage your life around it, right? So I'm trying to give you that kind of an example. Now, it's a maraka situation because the planet has given you something that you have to fight and live with. So please try and understand things not in extremes, but within a spectrum as to how things can shape for you, right? The other turbulent thing could be that if this planet is moving 12 houses behind, then your food habits could be like you are not able to, even if you want to and desire to, fond of good cuisine, but you might end up eating a lot of stale food or frozen food. Unfortunately, not able to get access to good quality, healthy, fresh food. And it happens to so many of us. We settle abroad, we settle in different geographies, we have to go out for work, we travel a lot, and we end up not consuming food which is available at home, which is much more healthier. So that kind of a situation might also, that tricky situation might also come into play. It would also mean that being away from your family, you might end up coming into situations where, on your job profile or because of your education, you have to travel a lot. Now we have to see other placements, third house, 9th house, and other aspects as well to figure out if it can be beneficial for you. But there is a high probability that in a negative scenario, you might end up being away from your family. Sometimes, in extreme cases, and I'm not saying it's going to be applicable for all, there could be situations with these people who could end up having extramarital affairs as well. It could lead to separation in your life with your loved one, with your family, with your partner, whatever, because of the 12th house situation being 12th to itself. So I hope this gives you a decent interpretation. If you are, I want you to please subscribe and like my videos as well, guys. And I'm pushing this point across because a lot of you watch my videos, but my subscription ratio is less than 5%. So it's my humble request to please check that out. And if you find this relevant, spread the word, share it with more people so that they can also understand and analyze what's happening in their chart. We will now look into the second house lord sitting in the second house itself. Now, this is generally speaking, a very good situation to be in because the house is having the lord ownership at the same place itself. It is sitting first to itself. So what does it mean? Again, as I spoke couple of minutes back, a lot of positive remains same. See, the karakatva or the attribute of the second house now will become more and more prominent. Means that your speech, your family bonding, your quality of food that you're consuming at your home, all that will go at a high rating. It will go at a next level in itself. You will be actually able to enjoy those pleasures of life much more easily than anybody else. You will have a lot of support of your family members. They will work, your family members will work with you to create that happy environment where you find peace. So that support in itself will come to you. Another good thing that happens is that the food you consume, the metabolism for you guys will be very nice. Very nice. You will have, there is a saying that, I consume the food, but it doesn't hit me. It doesn't impact me the right way. You are the people who will actually have good impact of food on you. And generally speaking, most of you with a second house, second lot placement would find that you are yourself very cautious and dedicated towards the quality of food you're consuming. You're very, very careful, measured. You know that this is the amount of proteins, carbs, or fat that I need to distribute in my meals. You are those kind of people. You bring a very measured way of communication to your family members. You are one of those patient listeners. Your spouse would really be happy around you because you are a measured listener and you know when and what to speak, which is good for the other person as well as for the bliss of your family. Now, since the second house lord is sitting in the second house itself, the only tricky situation that I anticipate here is that being a marka, it can at times give you challenges with respect to specifically the health of your family members or some other issues during the antardashas of the second lord. So let's say for a Scorpio ascendant, if Jupiter is the second lord, then you have to be careful in the antardasha of Jupiter. It becomes absolutely critical for you. You also might want to check that are there any malefic aspects that are coming into play in this case with a Rahu, Ketu, or a Saturn or a Mars aspect, and the dignity of those planets as well aspecting to your second lord. But in general, guys, you will have a much blissful and happy family speech, food and wealth saving scenario for yourself. If you liked this analysis, please click on that like button and subscribe, guys. I'm not getting enough subscribers. I just wanted to push that point slightly across as well. Now we will move on to the second house lord moving into the third house. So what's happening here, guys? The lord which is responsible for all the attributes that we discussed, be it your family, your speech, your food, your wealth, is moving into a house which is responsible for hard work. It's the earth trikon moving into a calm trikon. It's an interesting connection. Third house is considered to be a tough house, but it is an upchaya house. It grows with time. You understand what I'm saying? It grows with time. It depicts your hard work. It depicts your, social level communication. It depicts your short distance travels. It shows your siblings. With siblings, I'm reminded in my previous video, I had actually called it out the wrong way. So if you guys got confused, I'm sincerely apologetic towards that. But when the second house lord goes into the third house, it means that with your own hard work, you will be able to expand on your wealth. You are the people who are very entrepreneurial by nature because your growth mindset is in connection with the own hard work that you're bringing to the table. A lot of entrepreneurs will have this association. You will start exploring different kind of food, different kind of cuisines. A lot of times we see there are kids who say that, oh, I don't like this food. I'm not going to pick on. They are very picky eaters. You will actually change it is those kids itself who actually start eating different kinds of food when they grow up. Second house lord in the third house. With your own efforts, you expand and grow the status of your family. Entrepreneurial nature in your wealth as well as in your family. You are the people who will uplift the overall style quotient of your family. A lot of times these people are the ones who have the rags to riches story. Born in a poor family, faced a lot of tough situations, and you are the people who then uplift the living of your spouse, uplift the living of your parents, your kids. So it's a beautiful combination to have. It is a tough combination because it shows a lot of hard work also coming your way, right? You tend to bring visibility. See, it's because communication is at a social level. You bring visibility in all these aspects of second house through your own efforts as well. A lot of times you will be ensuring that you are taking these short trips, short vacations, weekend getaways. That is very, very prominent with you guys, because you love to take those short breaks and give that status upgrade as well as happiness quotient to your family. So you do all these measures for yourself. Now, again, with all good things, there are some associated riskier aspects as well. What is the turbulent thing that can come into play in this case? One thing is that, again, the marka is getting associated second to itself. It is going second to itself. So it is all about how you are pushing things across. And it is taking that risk factor to your siblings. So you could have siblings who could, sometimes struggle with their health. That's something you might want to take note of. And it might not be evident for a long period of time. It just comes across in a very sudden way. So that is one very, very important aspect that you have to take note of. When the planet going into the third house, say in a Scorpio ascendant, it's the Jupiter which is going into the third house, it gets debilitated. Or if it is getting any other malefic effects, it gives you a very high probability of you becoming lazy, not hardworking enough, unless and until, of course, there is some good blessing in disguise which comes in the form of a niche bhang. But still, you will start as a lazy character, and then you will eventually start fighting your own resistance and come out of it. You have this tendency of procrastination if you have the second lord in the third house. A lot of times, these people will feel that they have to make unnecessary travels. In a negative scenario, they will go try and do a lot of business meetings, or they would just travel to go and shop, let's say, in community, and they will not find the stuff that they want to buy. And a lot of time this happens to them. You would want to order something even in an e-commerce way, and it will not happen. You will be interpreted in the wrong way in the market, which means that the way you do not mean to say anything negative, but somehow it so happens that when you express yourself, the audience, the viewers, the listeners, the spectators, they perceive you in a completely different way, which you even had never anticipated. So it's those kind of things that will also come into play, and there are multiple other possibilities. What I'm trying to teach you is that you have to try and relate that what is going to work and not work, or against you with such kind of scenarios. And of course, if you are able to relate to this, smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm getting less than 5% subscriptions to my viewers. So I would really appreciate, guys, if you can at least motivate me by doing so. Okay. Now we will talk about the second house lord moving into the fourth house. What is happening here? It is going third to itself. The second lord, which is associated with everything, which is your wealth, your family, your communication, your speech, the kind of food you consume, the savings that you are accumulating in your bank, it is all getting associated with the house that is responsible for your assets, for your knowledge, for your mental peace. So that connection is happening. And in my mind, again, this is one of the decent connections to happen. The tricky part is it is going third to itself. So before we come to that, what happens is that the wealth that you're trying to accumulate is going to be magnanimous in size. And you are going to create that wealth in the form of hardcore assets. It's going to be the immovable property that you accumulate, or the mansion that you try and build will be humongous in size. You would want everything grand, and that is what you will work towards. Third from itself. So you are the person who's striving really really hard to build something huge. You will make big houses, you will accumulate big lavish cars as well in your life. This is also a scenario in which you are the people who love to enjoy their food, their lunch, dinner at peace. You are the people who would not love to attend a certain business meeting and then keep on feeding yourself as well. No, you don't like that. You want your food in peace, you want it with your family, you want it in a calm way. Even if it is just yourself, you want to enjoy your meal. It gives you satisfaction, right? Your speech could have a very calming effect on people. It will have a healing effect on people. So when you are talking to someone, or even the brainstorming bit, ideation with multiple people is also something that excites you. But at the same time, there are certain riskier propositions as well with this chart. In a negative scenario, it could be a detrimental situation for your mother, for your mother's health, so to speak. In a good place, there's a high chance that either you will add to the growth since you were born. Either she starts gaining on wealth, or she gets into a profession that brings her wealth, or you could also join your mother in her profession. So if, let's say, she starts something like a clothing line, you go and expand it to a big level. You join her business. You become entrepreneurial to a certain extent in this case as well. Third connection, right? Second goes to fourth, third to itself. So that also happens. But in a negative case, when there are certain afflictions, when the moon, if your moon is also afflicted in the chart, then also there is a probability, or the fourth lord gets afflicted, then also there is a very high probability, not just your second lord, that your mother's health could have an impact. She could see a downfall in the antardashas of this period, right? So you have to be very, very cognizant of this fact as well. You might be able to still build a big mansion, but you will see that there are continuous repairs needed. You build a huge house and something or the other keeps getting broken. There is some hardware problem coming up, electrical problems coming up, and a lot of you listening to me right now will be understanding and resonating to this point, that you've really slogged hard to create something, right? And then why are these kind of problems coming up? It is because of this connection. And maybe when we get into specific scenarios, I will talk about remedies as well as to how we can course correct that. But taking care of your mother is one of the best ways that you can address this, especially in the antardashas of the planet. And if this is making sense to you, quickly subscribe and smash on that like button, because less than 5% of you have been doing that. I'm not getting that vibe enough. Remember, second house is also the maraka, right? So when it goes into the fourth house, it brings risks associated to your wealth, to your assets. So you have to be careful in terms of doing any kind of land deals, property deals, purchasing car in the right period, or else you could be facing accidents. Huge risk there. All right. So if that makes sense, we'll move on to the next connection, where the second house lord is moving into the fifth house. Now, guys, what happens here? So first of all, fifth house is called as the Lakshmi Sthan, right? Or it's the place of creativity. It's the place of wealth. It is also the place of speculation, fast decision making. It's the place of your education, the degree that you get, the certifications. It's represented with your kids. So the first and foremost thing that comes to our mind is that once the second house has this connection, the family, your wealth, your savings, your speech, your food, it gets very closely, all the karakatvas of this are gone into the fifth house. Means that with the birth of your child, you will see an increase in your wealth. You will see an increase in your savings. That child is bringing that positivity into your life. Or with the completion of the education, so many times we see that the people are getting laid off in today's scenario, right? So what happens when you pivot yourself and do certain certifications, you finish certain courses, take up something, you then give an opportunity to yourself to bring those savings, bring those gains. And remember, it is aspecting the 11th as well, so it's a critical house. So the good bit here that happens for you guys is that with the birth of your child, with taking up new courses and degrees, you see an absolute increase in your wealth, in your savings. You also see that the speculative kind of businesses. And when I say speculative businesses, doesn't mean absolute speculation that you're just going and betting. Yes, gambling is also a part of it, but it could be speculation, calculated speculation with respect to stock market investments, or identifying the right property and purchasing that and investing in it. Or it could be actually taking a measured bet while playing roulette or blackjack, right? It could be that as well. You gain out of it. But remember, if it is a planet like Saturn, it will not like it. Saturn doesn't prefer it. Mercury, another story, right? Mercury would still enable it. Saturn will not give these kind of results. So do not do a blanket appraisal of these statements, and do not raise an alarm on the comments that Dave, you are right, or you are wrong, and this is not happening. There are multiple other scenarios that also come into play. But in general, what you will find is that when this Lord comes to the 5th house, it is a positive situation again. You are very creative in terms of your creativity comes with the presence of your family. It means that you could plan that family time in a very different way than the normal people. Your idea of having a family time would be not just sitting at home and binge watching Netflix. A lot of us do that. You would want to plan a picnic and go out, sit under the sun, right? You might want to take long drives. That is how you find that family upgrade in your 5th house. It's also very good from an education standpoint, because I see wealth as education as well. I know most of the astrologers will call this stupid, but guys, to me, wealth just doesn't mean hard cash. It is also a form of education, which means that if this connection is happening, the quality of education that you will get is going to be extraordinary. You might end up cracking some of the biggest Ivy League colleges, or some of the best institutions in your country, state, or city. Now, there could be turbulent negative scenarios as well. As we said, here we're talking about the 2nd house Lord, which is the Marka. Now, the Marka coming in an affliction in the 5th house can screw all of these things. It can severely impact your child's health. There could be challenges in conceiving a child as well. It could lead into you dropping out of college, or there could be unexpected sudden breaks in your education. So many times I see in my family member itself, one of my relative had to drop out of his college because his father passed away, unfortunately. And he was a very bright, sharp, intelligent student. But he had to take up the responsibility of running the family. So, those kind of unfortunate scenarios do happen in people's life. And this is when your 5th house gets afflicted. Your 2nd Lord is getting afflicted. Right? That's one tricky situation. It could also mean, so we've talked about, it could also mean that the investment strategy that you put in place, because you will have that creative bent of mind. But none of it will fall into place, because your timing could be abysmally wrong. You could be right in terms of taking a call that yes, the future is in cryptocurrency, or the future is in taking bets in big firms. But suddenly you have an Enron kind of a situation happening, or a Paytm kind of a situation happening in India, as we see very recently, and it tanks down. Those losses are also possible because of this. And if all of this is making sense to you, my request is, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. because you guys are not doing that. Less than 5% people are converting after watching, having good retention in views, watching it for the right duration. So I really appreciate if you can please send your encouragement to me by subscribing to the channel. Okay. Now we will figure out what happens when the second lord is moving to the sixth house. Sixth house, as we all know, it's a tricky house to be in. It's a house that represents litigations, you know, all kind of health concerns. It shows obstacles. It also shows your job. You being employed at a particular organization. And again, there are positive and negative connotations with a second house lord moving to the sixth house. Why? Because it is moving fifth to itself. So the movement is fifth. It's not a bad movement if you guys note. But the place where it's going, it is denoted by everything tricky. So when the second house lord goes fifth, means you carry that creativity, that past life blessings, benediction in your wealth creation, in your family life, in your communication, in the food, in all those elements. You carry that blessing with you, fifth to itself, but it will be related to the factors of the sixth house. Means if you have this kind of a connection, there is a very high probability that you will have a very high chance of doing job versus business. If you will be in job, you will be able to save, grow, and prosper in this situation. Job prospects will always be good for you. You will bring a lot of creativity in your job as well. Right? You will be able to tackle competition pretty well. Sixth house also denotes competition. So when you are going fifth to itself, what you are doing is that when you appear into any competitive examinations, you bring a lot of strength and capability to crack them open. Whether it be your GMAT, GREs, SATs, IITs, UPSCs, or any other competitive exam that you can think of. I've picked up the top 5 that came to my mind. Right? So it gives you that capability to crack those competitive scenarios, even at your work. If somebody, if there's an opportunity that is open to 3 people, and one of the people in the team has to crack that open and grow up the ladder, you stand a very good chance doing that. This is also a situation where you could be in profession. I know I said job, but your job could be in the profession of either healthcare or law. You could pick up being a judge. Let's say Saturn has a play in that case, or be an attorney, a lawyer, an immigration lawyer for that matter. You could, banking could be seen in this profession. Let's say if Jupiter is moving in a Scorpio ascendant, let's say Jupiter moves from there to the sixth house. It will be sitting in the sign of Aries. Good position for it. Very good sign for banking industry. You could actually join your family profession. Very high chances. Very high chances you join your family profession. Why? Because the second shows family and the sixth shows profession. So that's a very strong probability for you guys to happen as well. And you could actually make savings out of problematic situations. Like you could be in like law, good example, healthcare, a good example. When people are troubled, you are the best people companies should hire when they are undergoing transformation. Business transformation, because the company is struggling. You will come and do turnaround. So some of the biggest transformative CEOs, I don't remember the guy's name who was heading Domino's. He completely transformed the business, digital business, right? These are the kind of combinations. So you will bring that element. The riskier bit is the Marka Lord. Second house is Marka, right? So that Lord is coming in the sixth house. So brings a lot of ailments, chronic problems, diseases that can stick for a lifetime. That's a very tricky situation to happen. It can bring losses in the form of litigation for you. Loss both for your wealth as well as family loss. This is also another way in which you can see separation, divorces, misalignment in your family. It is, again, please don't choke my neck on this, but not in all charts. You have to analyze the complete chart. But if you have this kind of a placement, it could bring a riskier proposition of an extramarital affair as well. The food that you consume might, you might not just be eating the right food in itself, which could be a problem. And, you have to see that if the Lord is sitting afflicted here, is it getting any negative aspects? Is it in bad dignity? Is it in the enemy house? Or the culmination of all of that will make sense. And then, of course, you have to see the Lord of Sixth and how is it performing. Are there any benefic aspects coming to this planet or not? Like I said, Jupiter sitting here in Aries for a Scorpio ascendant, not a bad situation. Imagine if Sun or Mars also aspected, very good. Right? So if all of this is making sense to you, then please click on that like button and subscribe, my friends. I see so many of you watching my videos, but my conversion ratio is less than 5%. So I really would appreciate if you could kindly subscribe, and that gives me a huge motivation and encouragement to do more. Okay. So we will now move on to the second lord, to the seventh house. What happens in this case? When the second lord is in the seventh house, it is going sixth to itself. Now this is a tricky situation when compared to the previous ones. But it could be bringing in a lot of positive things as well. The first and foremost is that, your wife, your spouse will bring growth to your life. Once you get married, or once you start partnering with people in the outside world, you will see growth in your life. There will be growth in your personality. You will start expressing yourself much better in a teamwork situation. There are people who perform pretty well as individual contributors. And then there are performers who bring out the best when it comes to teamwork. You are the guys who fall in that category. You could be actually pretty good in terms of motivating your team. You could end up being good coaches, captains, or team leaders. You could be pretty good in sports as well, or bands, right? You could be bringing in leadership skills if you are related in the sphere of healthcare, or you are the people who will be very interested in resolving the issues of other people. Like two people are fighting, you would just walk into the situation, mediate between them, and solve the situation. And people would not even understand that how the hell did that happen, but you bring that capability. But remember, the reverse is not going to happen, because it's going to be eighth to itself. So they will not come and solve things for you, but you are the ones who's like an outside help, a supporter to fix things. And you find happiness doing that. You feel happy helping others. Sort of a philanthropic nature in that aspect. I see a lot of growth for people post-marriage. It brings growth in terms of wealth, growth in terms of family life, growth in terms of the way they start opening up. A lot of times people say that there is nobody who understands me. Marriage is something, when happens to you, you feel that you are understood. So it's a good thing as well. Not everything will resonate with you. There are this is the beauty of astrology. There are so many things that can come out of the same placement. Some of it will fit for you and some of it will fit for the other person. So please do not discount what it could mean for you as well as for somebody else. But yes, you could feel understood. But remember, the Maraka is moving into the another Maraka house. This means you have to be very, very careful, guys, in the Antardashas of both lords. Very, very critical. Especially from your health perspective and from your finances perspective, you have to take absolute care of what is happening in this sphere. This also is a situation which in a negative connotation could lead to a lot of losses in business. See, it could be either ways. In a good placement, it's a very strong business. I talked about partnership and stuff. It could be a very strong entrepreneurial scenario. But because there is a marka to marka connection, and if there is anything further, you need to check your remaining placements as well, is going wrong, then it could lead to loss in business. But in general, I think this is a dhan yoga. It's a positive yoga. At the end of the day, you have to figure out on a negative situation where your life partner, your spouse, could gain some health issues as well, which might not be known to you, or they could be in some kind of accidents or troubles at their workplace, which will actually work you up as well. You will not be happy. You will be bogged down with your spouse not being happy. It's not just all about us, right? It's about our partner as well. You could find delays in getting married. In a negative situation, there could be delays, and you have to see what is the position of Mars. If unfortunately there's a Mangal yoga also happening in this case, then things can get further tricky, right? So you have to look at that aspect as well. And all of it, if it makes sense, please like and subscribe, because you guys are not doing that. I'm just getting 5% of those conversions. I'm putting in a lot of time, effort, energy. And if it makes sense, if you think that this guy is doing a good job, please smash that. It empowers me, it encourages me big time. So I'm seeking your subscription here, guys. Moving on to the 8th house. It is going 7th to itself. Now what's happening in this case? 8th house denotes suddenness in everything. It denotes things that are hidden. It is 4th to the 5th house. Now when the second lord is going 7th to itself, what's happening? Every aspect, your savings, could see either a sudden gain or a sudden loss. Anything is possible. And it is very much probable in the Antardasha of the second lord, depending on the dignity of your second lord. Right? So you have to understand if it is getting any kind of malefic aspect or not. See, other than sun and moon, most of the other planets, the remaining 5, which is your Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, and am I missing a couple of them? I don't know what's happening to me right now, but all of them, they have 2 houses, Mercury and Venus. So they have they are the lords of 2 planets as well, right? But when the second is coming in here, you have to see that what is happening to the other house, and that will tell you that what kind of losses or gains that are expected, and if not, the other house placement is going to help you or not, right? That is very important to note. I will not comment on the longevity bit. People who watch this channel know that I do not like to talk about that particular aspect. So we will skip that. But I would want you to consider an important fact that this particular placement on a negative side gives a huge risk of your partner having an affair. And I'm not suggesting that this is something you should go and allege them, but you should be mindful of this fact that it's 7th to itself in a hidden space, which does give that tendency to your partner, right? On a good day, it could lead to you making absolutely tremendous gains from your family, through life insurance, or through your in-laws as well. Your in-laws could be great supporters for you. You could be, astrology is an interesting aspect, because you could be the ones who are making money through astrology. And I think if somehow that connection with first, 8th, or second happens, then there is a very high probability of astrology bringing you gains in your life. Very much into yourself and not communicate much in public. It is seen with many people. Why? Because either they are late starters, late bloomers, or it takes a lot out of themselves to express it to the outer world, even to your own family member. So these are some of the positive as well as negative aspects. Maraka Lord has gone to second to Maraka. So I will let you think more about it and see that what kind of connection can be made. Again, I do not want to comment about longevity, but I think since you've started to learn how to connect the dots, it will make sense to you. And if this does make sense to you, then please subscribe and give me a like, because You guys have been watching. Thank you for that. But I need your encouragement. I need your help to further broaden the horizons of this channel. So kindly do that, guys. Okay. We'll now move on to the ninth house. So the second lord is moving eighth to itself. Tricky movement, but it is going in a good house. It is again, it's a earth connection with dharma, but it's in the Lakshmi sthan. It's a very fortunate connection. You people will take long flights all your life. You will travel far and abroad with your family. Long vacations definitely written in your chart. You will have a very strong connection with your father. You might end up picking up the profession that your father has been running. If your father has been a doctor or a lawyer, you follow their footsteps. If they've been running a business, you follow their footsteps. Very high probability. And you go ahead and grow it as well. It is a very fortunate connection in this case. But the eighth movement is something that we have to talk in a bit. Remember, this is also a situation where you are the people who are the right hand man of your bosses. That blue eyed boys that we keep talking about, you could be that person. You bring growth to your superiors, and they in return help you groom and grow as well. Very strong and evident. You have such a close connection with your superiors at work that you actually invite their family, and vice versa, them inviting your family in events, in social connections. It is also very much probable. You are a straight shooter when it comes to communication. Very direct, very open, no sugarcoating, no beating around the bush. But yes, whilst there are all these great aspects, remember it is a marka as well. Moving eighth to itself means that how long will that stick and survive is also very tricky. In a turbulent situation, whilst you join your father's business, it could bring a tricky scenario that as you start taking up that profession, something happens to them. So many times we see that somebody had to step up in the family because the father passed away, and then the son or the daughter took over the business, and then they started running it. That is the connection we're talking about. A lot of such scenarios have this connection in play. This is not the only possibility, but this is very much a possibility. It could also mean that if it is a serious malefic scenario, like, you know, it could mean at least once in the Antardasha, there could be a major downfall in career or business, especially if it has some sort of foreign connection. Foreign connection, definitely. Either you get into a trading business with your family and you lose out on something, or you get into into a profession where you have a foreign client or some kind of a travel associated to your customer, and it leads into humongous amounts of losses. Very high probability of that happening. But it is also quite notable that your family is very fortunate for you. With the expansion and growth of your family members, after marriage, expansion of kids and stuff, you see that there is a growth in your profession. There is a very good connection of your father leaving some wealth for your family, not just for you, but your family itself. Inheritance connection does happen, especially from your father. I'm not talking from your mother's perspective. It's the eighth connection to the ninth house. You see how we are trying to relate things? So that might also happen in your case. Okay. Now, before we move on to the next house, I want to remind you that you need to subscribe and smash on that like button. Guys, I keep telling you that and you keep forgetting, and I have a very low performance rate, less than 5% because of it. So I'm putting in the effort. You put yours, guys. Please smash that like button. Please subscribe so that I continue to grow as well as I put this effort. All right. Now we will talk about the second lord in the 10th house. What's happening here? I think it's again like a Raj Yoga connection. The earth trikon is connecting to the earth. It's a major dhan yoga coming into play, because your profession, your social status will grow with the growth of your family, with the growth of your wealth. and you will be able to bring, so you will see, you have to understand your family and wealth, your communication is going into your 10th house. So in your profession, you are bringing elements of everything. Whatever wealth saving you have, whatever savings you have, you pour that into your 10th house, and you reap the benefits out of it. You bring in your family support, you pour it into your workplace, and you grow out of it. What does it mean? You will have a spouse or a family who are so supportive towards your growth, your profession, that you are the center of the world to your family. If you want to achieve some desire, some goal from a professional standpoint or from a public standpoint, they will provide you absolute support. You want to lead a political life, your family's status and perception will be so grand that it will result into the growth of your public life, in your political life. If you want to grow your business, you will have absolute undeniable support from your family members, or the wealth. They will be ready to invest. Your own family will come in and invest in you. That's the beauty. And it multiplies. It multiplies. Why? Because second is fifth to 10th. So it creatively multiplies. That speculation falls in place. That is why it is called a Raj Yoga. And it's like a Dhan Yoga combination as well. Right? So it is going to be very, very, and in most cases, again, this connection in my mind, unless and until it is in a abysmally bad dignity, terribly, having aspects from malefics, and nothing is working out good, only under those situations that could be bad. And it could be bad, which means, because we are talking about Marka getting into the 10th house, so what it could lead, that there could be certain disrespect, layoff coming in job, but it is not permanent. Remember that. It is not permanent. It is not the end of career thing that will happen to you. You might have those obstacles, those hiccups, but the connection is ninth to itself. So it will remain a positive connection only. It will transcend into something that will tomorrow, if not day after tomorrow, lead into something positive for you. But yes, hiccups could be seen in a negative situation. There could be people conspiring against you, and not your boss. Your superiors will be supportive towards you. It is your competition that might conspire to pull you down, specifically during the Antardasha of this. But in a good situation, you will see, humongous rise in your career during the Mahadasha as well as in the Antardasha periods of the second lord when it is sitting in the 10th house. Again, from a political angle, I want to call out that the communication of you guys becomes extremely popular, warm, and inspiring to people. It's the ninth. It's almost at a spiritual level for you folks. So you listen to those leaders who give you goosebumps, and even if they are talking about growth, or when they are talking about picking up mega projects, doing something transformative in terms of what mankind is achieving by going to the space and things like that, right? Something very drastic, almost at a spiritual level. You get that motivation, that goosebumps, and get driven. You are those people. You can be that leader. So that innate leadership capability also comes in you. And if you do identify as one of those leaders, you must like and subscribe, guys. Sorry, I'm trying a different way to motivate you fellows, because I see a lot of views coming in, but it's not still converting into enough subscribers. So please subscribe, guys. It encourages me to keep pushing myself and creating more interesting, knowledgeable videos and share my knowledge with you. So please do that, okay? Now we will move on to the next house, which is the second house lord moving into the 11th house. What? It's a super powerful Dhan Yoga. Super powerful Dhan Yoga. Money, 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 wish fulfillment around money, savings, income is all that you can think of. And 11th house, it's the house of expansion. They say even the malefics give positive results in this house. I almost consider this house as my most favorite house, so to speak. then you can see your income, your regular flow of money, any kind of gains, any kind of wish fulfillment and desires. It is 6th to 6, and it is 10th to the second house. So it can be a tricky house. But this is where, when the second house lord, which brings your family power, your family support, family status, your wealth, your savings, and your speech into the 11th house, means that you want to gain every bit more in all of this. You want to increase your savings by increasing your gains. Again, a very strong connection for entrepreneurial mindset people. Very high probability of running your own enterprise when compared to working in a job. Very, very high probability. Even if you are in a job, you are continuously seeking the next level growth because you want to bring in the next level of savings. Even the malefics tend to perform well here. This is a house where your family will help you expand into your social network. Your social network will not just be limited by you. It will be an extension of your family itself. This could mean that you might have a very huge joint family, or maybe lots of cousins and their friends and stuff, also part of your regular life, or a lot of your friends who are almost like family members to you. So the level of bonding is also changed. Now, somebody commented in my previous video that if Saturn comes into play, all of that goes for a toss and you go in for an isolation. Yes. Now, this is where we have to, we have to understand that every house and every lot can bring a negative aspect as well. The Maraka is now coming into the 11th house. Remember, guys, the Marak planet. So when the Marak is coming into the 11th house, it can actually risk sudden losses from for your family because of your friends. And I don't want to hint scenarios, but it could actually be a situation where, because it's a house of obsession, in a negative affliction, it could lead people who have affairs in a close knit circle, friend of your spouse. This is what it can do. And at times I try to refrain talking these stuffs. When people put on comments, they try to say that, Dave, you've missed it. No, I'm just avoiding a lot of things. It could be as crazy as that. Friend connection with your spouse, bringing that separation in a negative situation. And why? Because you have that obsession to go for it. But let's try and see that there could be so many positives. From a Maraka standpoint, it could actually, when you wish for something, you could end up wishing for something which is detrimental for you. And that can be in multiple ways. It can be in aspect to your health. A lot of people go and pick up bodybuilding and stuff with their friends. They start exercising. They start consuming products which are not good for them. Food, second house is getting connected with it, steroids and stuff. It can lead into losses in different shapes and forms. It's a Maraka from that perspective. It can bring in bad habits. It can lead a person into picking up which is not good for their mental and physical health. And I don't want to get into more details in this, but I think you are getting a drift. You're trying to understand that what is an associated risk. But this is a risk when it is a dangerous planet, a malefic planet, which would typically do it. But predominantly what I've seen, and I've done readings of hundreds of charts, both in my live sessions as well as personal readings that people reach out to me for the paid sessions. I've seen that it in general is a good connection, because what it does is it brings positive expansion into the lives of the people. And generally speaking, 11th house, unless and until something is majorly going wrong with the native, in Kali Yuga, in this modern materialistic world, brings positive to your life. And if you are experiencing that positive as well, it is high time you smash the like button and subscribe to my channel, because you guys have been watching the videos but not enough subscriptions are following. So I need your help, guys. Okay, please do that. I demand. And with that, I will now move on to the 12th house, the second house lord moving into the 12th house. So what's happening here, guys? Now, in this situation, what happens is that the planet is going 11 houses away. So it is moving in a motion of finding gains, but in the house of losses, in the house of expenses, in the house of sleep, bed pleasure, hospitals, and whatnot. Tricky. So one thing is that, on a good day, what it will do is that your wealth will go into spending, but that spend will bring gains for you. 11th connection. Why and how? It could bring gain in the form of prestige. So you are spending money on high branded items, acquisition of a high-end watch or a high-end car and stuff. It elevates your status level of you and your family, right? So expenses is not bad. I mean, we're not here to just take birth, accumulate, and die. You're gonna just leave everything here, so better enjoy it, right? So this is a placement in which you tend to enjoy the luxuries of life. You tend to get stuff which is, and not just for yourself. By the way, you're not selfish person in this house. You treat your family, your spouse, your kids, if you've made up your mind that you not going to be wearing anything less than a Christian Dior, you're going to maintain that. You're going to maintain that Versace and Dolce & Gabbana for your wife as well. That is the kind of expenses I'm talking about. And at times you might even risk to go beyond your appetite, beyond your ability to spend on it, but it gives you happiness. It's a wish fulfillment for you. You tend to enjoy luxuries of all forms. So, you would want to travel to just consume good food. You are people who like to cuddle with their partners. And I'm not just talking about bed pleasures. I'm talking about cuddling, that sort of romance as well. It is seen in this form. You desire to express yourself at a higher value to your partner as well, from a sleep perspective. One riskier aspect could be you would sleep a lot. It could bring a lot of lazy character as well in you, because you like you like luxury, you've got it, and luxury is one form for you is taking a good nap, taking a long nap in the afternoon, just taking, going away, or maybe sleeping up till late morning hours as well. So that's another habit that you can bring into play. And I wouldn't say it's good or bad, it's your own choice. Who says sleeping is bad? My gym instructor keeps on telling me, Dave, you have to sleep 8 hours, and I'm not able to manage it. So I think it's a good habit if you sleep enough, right? So the riskier aspect here could be, because we have a 12th house connection. It's not one of the great houses, as we all know. And if in a malefic scenario, in a bad dignity scenario, see, the planet would be aspecting your 6th as well. It is sitting in the house of expense. It is sitting in a place where you could go away from your family, or someone in your family could have situation where there is a lot of medical expenses. Diseases are definitely, or litigations also, because jail connection also happens here. So in a bad situation, it could bring lots of trouble for both you and your family, and or either of them. And that is something you have to be very, very be careful of. If you have this situation, I will recommend you guys to look into your Vimshotri Dashas and see that what are the Antardashas that you are running, and if at all you have a play with this. See, second house Lord is also a Marka planet. So when the Marka planet is going into the 12th house, it does add to the problems in terms of your sleep cycles. Apnea, snoring. It could, you could have headaches. That's another problem that you will find. And if any of these things are relatable to you, the most important thing that you need to do is smash that like button and subscribe to this channel, because I have been able to explain to you what is happening in your life. And at least that much is what I deserve. Guys, I've been getting very less number of subscribers. I know a lot of you are subscribing, but with an amount of views that we are getting, we need more subscriptions, and it'll really help if you could please provide that motivation and encouragement to me. Thank you for watching with this video, and I will be back in continuation to this series with the third house lord in all houses. Have a good day. Om Namah Shivaya.